In this video, I'd like to share with you a message called The Miracle of the Israeli Air Force in 1948. So in 1948, the modern state of Israel was born, and the very next day, May 15th, 1948, 5 Arab nations joined together to attack the fledgling state. Now, Israel had very few weapons in its possession, and in particular modern weapons to face the armies that were coming against it. Especially Israel did not have an air force. So the Egyptian planes started to bomb Tel Aviv straight away on the very first day of the war. However, Israel was in the process of trying to get hold of fighter jets. Now, there was an embargo against the Jewish state organized by the British in particular, which made it very hard to get hold of planes. However, Israel was able to get hold of 4 Messerschmitt planes. These are German fighter jets from World War II. These particular ones were from Czechoslovakia, and they were a bit of a mishmash of different parts. The pilots described them as very dangerous to fly. They had just managed to get them to the land of Israel when the situation in Israel was pretty dire. By this point, 6,000 Egyptian troops and 700 vehicles were marching unhindered through the land of Israel up towards Tel Aviv. There were no defences left to stop this armoured column, and so the call was made to the Israeli Air Force for its first mission with only 4 planes. Now the pilots described what happened next. They said it was a mess. They attacked the Egyptian column, they were able to let go of a few bombs. We straggled back, having inflicted minimal damage and even lost one of the fighter jets. So the entire Israeli Air Force, 4 planes, is now down to 3 planes. It's a pretty desperate situation, but what happened to the Egyptians who were attacking and who were advancing towards Tel Aviv? Well, Israeli intelligence intercepted a message where the commander said, "We are heavily attacked by enemy aircraft and we are scattering." You see, they were terrified to see the Israeli Air Force in the air. They had heard there was no such thing, and now they felt very vulnerable. But they didn't know there were only 4 planes and now only 3 planes. This is just one example of the many stories involved in Israel in 1948, in that founding war where their soldiers had to be willing to give absolutely everything. They were stretched to the limit. They were fighting a very desperate war. But in the midst of this, miracles happened. God had promised his people a land, yet they had to be willing to fight for it. Yet there was a battle over the land, and they had to be willing to go as far as they humanly could. And then the miracles came. They had to have a spirit like Joshua and Caleb in the Bible, who are not intimidated by the giants. I'll be putting more videos of miracle stories online on YouTube in the near future. And if you're interested in more, we have a DVD called The Prophetic Wars of Israel, available at our website www.pastorenoch.com.au. Thank you.